Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the 2007 NHL Draft hosted in Columbus. Now this draft was known for a few steals, but overall, that first round is probably what it's going to be known for a long time. This first round could be one of the best that we've seen so far. This draft, it isn't one of the best, but that first round definitely is. So let's get right into the players that did not play an NHL game drafted in the first round. In this draft, we saw 5 players that were drafted in the first round that did not play an NHL game. I think last time in the 2006 draft, we saw 3. It's been around that 3 to 5 marker, so not too unusual. Now, of course, we've been going by 500 games played throughout most of the series here, and this time I think it's getting there to where we have to drop it down a little bit. We're going to be looking at players over 400 games. Now we've seen players that are still playing in the NHL and still getting decent time that don't quite have that 500 games threshold, and some of those would be blocked if we still have that 500 games played. So we're going to move it down just a little bit to 400. But before we look at that, we were looking at the top 3, of course, with Patrick Kane, James Van Riemsdyk, and Kyle Turris. And this is one of the few drafts that we've seen the top 3, where the top 3 players are all very solid, very good, and very decent players today. This is one of the few drafts where in the top 3 we haven't seen a bust, or we haven't seen a player that really shouldn't be there. The top 3, even though a few players in James Van Riemsdyk and of course Turris are questionable, they're not terrible picks there. They're still pretty decent players. So let's start with Patrick Kane, first overall. Definitely deserves to be up there. 822 games played, 312 goals, 516 assists for 828 points. Getting originally drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. You got James Van Riemsdyk, second overall, 609 games played, 201 goals, 192 assists for 393 points. Being drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers. And number 3 overall, you got Kyle Turris, who has 609 games played, the same as Van Riemsdyk. 149 goals, 213 assists for 362 points, and being drafted by the Phoenix Coyotes / the Arizona Coyotes. 4th overall, you got Thomas Hickey, which isn't the best pick, but still an okay player. 409 games played, 22 goals, 89 assists for 111 points, him being drafted by the Los Angeles Kings. 5th overall, you got Carl Alzner, 673 games played, 20 goals, 109 assists for 129 points, him being drafted by the Washington Capitals. 6th overall, you got Sam Gagner, 770 games played, 152 goals, 281 assists for 433 points, and being drafted by the Edmonton Oilers. Then you got 7th overall, you got Jacob Voracek. He has 768 games played, 175 goals, 398 assists for 573 points, and being drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets. 9th overall, you got Logan Couture, 582 games played, 213 goals, 224 assists for 437 points, and he drafted by the San Jose Sharks. You got Ryan McDonough, or you got Brandon Sutter, 11th overall, 657 games played, 131 goals, 128 3 assists for 254 points, and he drafted by the Carolina Hurricanes. Then you got 12th overall, Ryan McDonough, who has played 530 games, 53 goals, 188 assists for 241 points, and he was drafted by Montreal Canadiens, obviously one of the worst trades that they've ever made. 13th overall, you got Lars Eller, 604 games played, 103 goals, 116 assists, 219 points, and being drafted by the St. Louis Blues of all teams. 14th overall, you got Kevin Shattenkirk, 536 games played, 73 goals, 248 assists for 321 points, and being drafted by the Colorado Avalanche. You got 18th overall, Ian Cole, 405 games played, 20 goals, 77 assists for 97 points, and being drafted by the St. Louis Blues. And you got 22nd overall, Max Pacioretty, 626 games played, 226 goals, 222 assists for 448 points, him being drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. Then you got 24th overall Mikael Backlund, 543 games played, 108 goals, 165 assists for 273 points, him being drafted by Calgary. Then last but not least, in the first round, you got 26th overall David Perron, who's played 722 games, 175 goals, 269 assists for 444 points, him being drafted again by the St. Louis Blues. The Blues have had a nice draft so far. In the second round, you got a few guys. PK Subban, 43rd overall, obviously the big guy in that round too. 582 games played, 82 goals, 288 assists for 377 points, him being drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. We all know how that ended up. You got Nick Spalling, 58th overall, 437 games played, 52 goals, 72 assists for 124 points, him being drafted by the Nashville Predators. And then last but not least, in the second round, you got 61st overall Wayne Simmons, 762 games played, 226 goals, 218 assists for 444 points, same amount of points as David Perron, but originally drafted by the LA Kings. In the third round, you had one guy, 77th overall, you got Alex Killorn, 435 games played, 87 goals, 134 assists for 221 points, and being drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then you go on to round 4, where they also only have one guy, Alec Martinez, 45th overall, 496 games played, 57 goals, 115 assists for 172 points, and being drafted by the LA Kings. In the fifth round, you got a couple of guys, mainly Jamie Benn. You have 129th overall Jamie Benn, 667 games played, 254 goals, and 342 assists, and 596 points, him being drafted by Dallas Stars, and obviously the biggest draft steal here. And also 141st overall, I got Jake Muzzin, 446 games played, 47 goals, 145 assists for 192 points, being drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. You go into round 6, you got Carl Hagelin, 168th overall, 488 games played, 88 goals, 134 assists for 222 points, being drafted by the New York Rangers. And then you got 173rd overall, Nick Bonino, 478 games played, 87 goals, 125 assists for 212 points, drafted originally by the San Jose Sharks. And then in round 2, you got two more guys. Carl Gunnarsson, 194th overall, 556 games played, 25 goals, 97 assists for 122 points, and being drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then 201st overall, I got Justin Braun, 529 games played, 22 goals, 116 assists for 138 points, him being drafted by the San Jose Sharks. Now, first impressions here, there was pretty much zero goalies. The best goalie to come out of this draft was Scott Darling, so not a great draft for them goalies. And we've also seen some drafts before that have been dominated by certain teams. This draft has San Jose and Pittsburgh all over it. It seems like a lot of these players have come from either San Jose or Pittsburgh and have played from those two teams. You got Justin Braun, Nick Bonino, Carl Hagelin, Jake Muzzin was drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. You got other guys in there, and there's just a ton of players that come from both those teams. You see the steals that have already happened in this draft. It just has those two teams all over it. And also, Montreal would have had a pretty good draft if they kept PK Subban and if they kept Ryan McDonough. Mistakes were definitely made. But to me, it's going to be one of the best first rounds that we see for a while. Even though there wasn't a ton of depth, not a ton of steals, the steals that we did see were pretty damn decent, especially with Jamie Benn. But that first round was fantastic, and probably one of the best ones that we'll see for a while. That first round, it had a ton of depth and a ton of great players to come out of it. And for me, we see a lot of stars today, coming from today. There's a lot of fantastic players coming out of this draft. Again, not as many steals and not as deep as a lot of other drafts, but that first round definitely was going to be one of the deeper ones that we see for a while. And we obviously see some fantastic players coming out of this draft. Unlike last draft where there was no defensemen and goaltenders, at least there was quite a few decent defenders coming out of this draft, most notably PK Subban. But on the goaltender side of things, it still wasn't very good. Now for my top 5 players to come out of this draft. Number 1, I have Patrick Kane. That's pretty much undeniable, even though, of course, I have Jamie Benn at number 2. I can't deny the fact. Patrick Kane has been the better player for a while and a while longer. He's definitely the better player overall, but, of course, just said it. Jamie Benn, number 2. Probably going to be one of the better draft steals that we see throughout this series. Definitely deserves to be up there, and when the time that he's played, he definitely deserves that. Number 3, I have PK Subban, even though he has some concern defensively. The offensive, he just has a rocket. He's a power play beast, and he's been in the league for a while. He's done fantastic things. Number 4, I have Jacob Voracek. Just been an all-around beast for a while, really been underrated for a long time as a passer, as an assist guy, has been really up there for a while. And number 5, I have Logan Couture. There's a lot of guys like Max Pacioretty and Wayne Simmons that you could put there, but I feel like Logan Couture brings a lot more as at center position, and he hasn't played a ton of games, and he's scored a lot when he's played, and that screams to me, hey, he could score a lot more if he wasn't injured in a couple seasons, if he played a lot more. But overall, a very decent draft and a very, I would say deep draft, but we didn't see a lot of steals. We saw some great players coming out of the first round, but other than that, it wasn't too great. But for sure, this first round is going to be one of the best that we see for a while. 2007 draft, it has a lot of great players come out of it. Not a ton of draft steals, not a ton of draft busts, to be honest, but you saw a lot of great players come out of the first round. That's probably going to be the thing that we remember for a while. So that's going up for today, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Tell me down below what you think of this draft. What is your favorite players to come out of this draft? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.